What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Welcome back to another edition of Matchday Reloaded here live as it gets in Panenka Studios. Yes, we're going to be talking about yesterday's game at Old Trafford. Manchester United 0, Southampton 0. Points dropped or points picked up, I guess, depending on how you look at it, depending on how you look at the overall feel of that one, depending on how you look at the referee's performance. There's so much to get into this morning, and you know what? What we usually do here on Matchday Reload, we usually do a thing where, and this is still going to be the format, don't you worry, we're not going to divert too much from the format this morning, but usually what we do, we look at, Ten Hag quotes, player quotes, some clips, some reaction, and individual players' performances, and we are going to do that still this morning, because that's what we do on Matchday Reloaded. But I'm going to do my very best, my very, very, very best to not rant and rave and moan and groan too much about refereeing performances and VAR, because I could go for an hour. I could go for an hour on the performance of Anthony Taylor, of the performance of the video assistant referee. And the thing is, if you've watched any of the Matchday Reloaded streams that I've done this season, or if you've seen just any solo streams I've done in general this season, you'll know that this isn't a new phenomenon with me when it comes to refereeing. And it's not a Man United thing. I really want to get that across too. It's not a Man United thing. All I want is consistency. I've criticised referees and VAR this season for direct rivals of us, because I'll go, that is a terrible decision. When a couple of weeks ago, Chelsea, when they were at the London Stadium, and that one when it was clearly a handball, I said, that's a shocking decision. And the reason you have to call them out at the time when it's even your opposition, your rivals, is because eventually that's going to come round and come back to you. Because if they're incompetent for those people, it's going to end up on us. And this season, I do feel that we're on the receiving end of some really bad decisions, and I don't think it's an agenda. I really don't. I don't think it's, I've seen some people take it too far when they go, they're singling out Manchester United and they're singling out, they're against us. I don't even think it's that. At least if it was that, if it was this big calculated agenda against Manchester United, I'd say to myself, wow, at least they're doing it on purpose. You know what scary is? They're not. They're not doing it on purpose. They're just no good. They're just not good. They're not fit for purpose. And to me, in a day and age where we've got technology and we've got multiple looks at things, how you can still get it wrong. We've removed human error from this conversation, and you can still get mistakes wrong, to me, is insane. I think it's absolutely insane. And I think it's funny also. I've seen, obviously, a lot of the fallout from the game yesterday, and we will get into the minutiae of it all, has been about the refereeing performance and VAR and all that kind of stuff. And I've seen opposition fans go, you're still complaining about decisions. You couldn't beat Southampton, whinging and whining about decisions. And like I just said a couple of minutes ago, you can laugh and you can point and you can say, ha, 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 ha. But you won't be laughing when it affects you, because make no mistake, it will come around and it will affect you too. If you're not concerned about some of the decisions you're seeing, not just yesterday, but this season, and you're laughing at us, laugh as long as you want, because it will come back to bite you. If you're even a fan of another team this season, it will get you, because these referees are terrible. They are awful. And the Premier League, we pride ourselves every single time we have a conversation about La Liga, are you kidding me? Serie A, don't even talk about it. The Bundesliga, no thank you. Premier League, best league in the world. We've got players from all around the world, from all of the continents. They come here in the Premier League. Managers, we've got the best managers in the world here. Whether it's Spain, Germany, the Netherlands, England, you name it. They all come here. They all come over to the Premier League. Because we're the best league in the world. We can offer the most money. We've seen a January transfer window where we've blown out one club, spent more money than an entire league. And yet when it comes to the referees, we're not going to get the best referees from around the world. We're going to stick with what we have, and what we have is incompetence. Now, obviously, if you're not sure what I'm talking about there, I am referring to the Casemiro red card. I am referring to the fact that United should have had a penalty. I think just the one, but a couple of them could have been given, but I think just the one. And again, just a terrible, terrible, terrible refereeing performance from people on the pitch and people in the VAR room as well. And I don't get it. I just do not get it. And the lack of accountability and the lack of consistency to me is baffling. And I have been banging on this drum for months on here when I say, why do we not hear from referees? Why don't we hear from, why are they, I mean, they're practically an endangered species at this point. You can't talk about them. You don't hear from them. They just disappear. You know, if a manager or a player makes a bad decision out on the pitch, what happens after the game? They come out. There's a press conference. There's an interview, and they say, hey, if it's Ten Hag, why did you make that sub? And they explain it, and the people at home go, well, I don't know about that. I think that, but you know, at least they can try and explain what they've done. Referees, you'll never hear from them again, ever, until next week. They've got a lot to say on the pitch, but apart from that, no, not at all afterwards. VAR, we don't hear those conversations as well. In any other sport, whether it's cricket or rugby or the NFL or tennis, whatever it is, if they go, okay, we're going to check this, you hear it. Whether it's in the stadium or whether it's at home on the broadcast, you hear the conversation. Okay, let's move to this camera angle. Okay, like in cricket when they go, did we hear anything there? No. Let's have a look at this angle. No. Okay, stick with the on-field decision, or I'm going to recommend you go over. If you have a look over, yep, this is what I'm seeing. No, in the Premier League, you just hear the VAR checking. VAR checking. That's all you hear. That's all you hear. And that's if you're in the ground. If you're at home, you'll just hear the commentators go, oh, I think they're going to go to VAR. I think they're going to check it. Or you just don't see anything, and you just hear Martin Tyler on commentary go, they've checked it, it's complete. Well, what happened there then? What happened? You know, and it's just, oh. And how long's VAR been around now? When did VAR get introduced? 2018 or something like that? 2018, I think it is. So what we're talking about, like 4 years, and they're still going, oh, we're still yet to get this right. Oh my God. You know, and when it comes to the decisions yesterday, I'm not even necessarily angry that they gave the decisions the way they gave them. If you're telling me that the Casemiro one is a red card, fine. If you're telling me that the handball in the box, if you're saying that's not a penalty, fine. No problem. But all I ask, and all Erik Ten Hag asks, and we'll get to his quotes in just a second, all we ask is consistency. Because, fine, give that Casemiro a red card, but make sure then, the majority of the time in the Premier League this season, when you see a tackle similar to that or worse than that, you give a red card. Or when there's a handball like that in the box, you don't give a penalty, because that's got to be the standard. The frustrating thing is, and it was exactly the same. I don't like to be the person who goes, see, I told you so. But when Casemiro got sent off against Crystal Palace, the next match they reloaded that I said my biggest issue with it is that you will see this season, this week, the next game, you will see incidents that are exactly the same as that, and nothing will happen. They'll give a yellow card at best. VAR won't interfere. And we did. We've seen it so many times this season. In derbies or flashpoint games when people come together, they're pushing, they're shoving, they're grabbing them there. Nothing. No red card. Book, and they go, okay, calm down. Emotions are high. Tensions are high. Calm down. And you'll see it again. At the King Power, the day before, let's talk about a couple of red cards. One on João Felix was terrible. It was far worse than the Casemiro one. No, we're not going to have a look at that. And again, I can accept it if there was no VAR, because I'll go, well, that's human error. Split-second judgment. But when you've got VAR and you're not going to interfere, it's just nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And we will see red cards given, or not given rather, for far worse. And we will see penalties given for far less. And that's my problem. There is no consistency. With the handball, it's double bubble as well, to be honest. It's double bubble, because not only is it handball, he blocks the ball from going to Weghorst, who's in the middle of the box on the penalty spot. I don't get it. I do not understand it, and I don't know what's worse, to be honest. If it's incompetence, you know. Toby's in the chat with a good bit of whataboutism, says, what about Rashford's dive? What about it? what about it? That has no influence on, and there actually was a bit of contact. I didn't think it was a penalty. I did not think that was a penalty. As I said earlier on, I don't think the Bruno one was a penalty, and I don't think the Rashford one was a penalty. But the handball one is a clear handball, and the red card for me isn't a red card, and it's not even the first time Anthony Taylor of United this season. Do we need to go back to Aston Villa when he, like basic refereeing, had the wall too far back? I remember doing the match view at the time with Cam, and like Cam was sitting there at the time, and he said that wall's too far back. And then they come out afterwards, and this is annoying this season as well. And again, this isn't even a United thing. I've seen them do this with Arsenal. I've seen this do them with Manchester City against us as well. When they come out after the fact and they go, yeah, we got that one wrong, sorry. Well, fat load of good that does anyone. It's gone. They've lost the game. They've lost the points. You know, and Howard Webb, I've seen him do these interviews going, we're gonna pull back the curtain. Don't you worry, we're pulling back the curtain. Part of me feels like they don't want to almost be open and exposed because it will show how bad they really are. You know, I don't get it, and I really hate, honestly, I do. I really hate to be that fan that says that the first thing they come out of the first thing they do when they come out of the game is to say the referee, because there is 90 minutes still, and you can still. There's like Casemiro gets sent off after 32 minutes. But we played a lot of time with 10 men, but there's still time to change the game. We still did have chances, no doubt about it. Bruno Fernandes hits the post. Keeper made a couple of good saves. David De Gea also kept us in it. But you can't. It's one of those games where you cannot look at that game and not talk about the official, because the official really has changed the course of that one, really shifted it. And I know people will say, well, you're at home against Southampton, they're bottom of the league, but still, it's a Premier League game, and in a Premier League game of football, if you go down to 10 men for 60 plus minutes, that is going to affect you. That has changed the course of the game, and in addition to that, other decisions have gone against you. That's nuts. And I know people have said, what about appealing it? I don't even know if there's any point, because it's not going to get overturned. You know, it's a closed society at this point. You know, and as I said, I hate to be that fan that goes, I hate to be that fan that's like straight after the only thing you can say is referees. And there are other things, we will talk about it. You know, I did think that we started off the game somewhat lethargic and a bit slow, and there was a lack of intensity. And I do think we look fatigued and tired as well. But you're also talking about, you know, there's this just general expectation, isn't there, that officials are going to get decisions right. And to get so many wrong is nuts. I really don't understand it. But yes, I will try my best not to rant too much this morning. But it's just, again, that's for me is the story of the game yesterday. Is the poor decisions and the knock-on effect because of them. Now, David De Gea spoke after the game about Casemiro's red card. He said, quote, I think it was a bit unlucky. I think the referee should be more consistent in the games. As far as the games that Casemiro is going to miss now, of course, it's his second straight red card of the season. He went over 500 games playing in Europe without a red card, and he's got 2 in the space of a few weeks, really, for Manchester United. And now he will miss 4 games because it's a second straight red. He'll miss Fulham at home in the FA Cup, Newcastle away in the Premier League, Brentford at home in the Premier League, and Everton also at home in the Premier League. I don't think he's going to play for United in the Premier League for something like 30 plus days, which is crazy. Now, Ten Hag after the game said, quote, big compliments to the team, big character when you are a long time with 10 men after we played on Thursday. Now, when Ten Hag was asked whether or not Manchester United should have been awarded a penalty, Ten Hag said, quote, oh, definitely, there is no doubt. I don't understand why the VAR is not interrupting because they did previously. Now, when asked about the Casemiro red card, Ten Hag said, quote, Casemiro played over 500 games in Europe. He never had a red card. Now, in 20 games in the Premier League, he has 2. So basically saying that, and it's not even with the 2 red cards that Casemiro have received. You've got to remember, the initial on-field decision wasn't that he got 2 straight reds in both occasions. It's VAR interfering unnecessarily in both situations. As a referee, you would think, trust your instincts. Trust your instincts, because particularly yesterday, from a bad performance, that was initially a decision, in my opinion, he got right. He trusts his instincts. He went, yellow card, don't do that again. Yeah, you get the ball first, and that's probably what protects him. You get the ball first, but because he comes in fairly high, his foot goes over the ball. Well, it goes over the ball after he hits it, but he gets the ball first. And again, we have lost players this season for tackles that have injured our players and got no card whatsoever. There is no consistency. And I understand, refs are not going to get every decision right, and interpretation, but these are big decisions, big constant decisions. And like I said, when it comes to the penalty, I agree with Ten Hag. It's one of those ones where I'm even doubting VAR. You remember when VAR first came in, and if you saw a decision that was missed, you almost had this underlying confidence, didn't you? That, well, VAR is going to set it right. If the referee misses it, VAR will get it. I have no faith in that now. If a referee misses a clear and obvious error, I still don't know if VAR is going to come in. There is no confidence at all when it comes to VAR now. Because yesterday, again, looking at that handball, when you see the replay, you think, oh, VAR surely is going to have to, they're surely going to have to intervene rather in that one, because the guy's on the floor, so he's on his knees, he goes like this, so he's already made his surface area bigger. Not only is it on his arm, so it's a handball, but he's actually blocked the ball. He's stopped the ball from going to Wout Weghorst. In addition, stopping the ball going to Wout Weghorst. You see it when it comes into the replay. The ball hits him here. His hand goes like this, like he moves his hand like that, because it connected with his arm and he blocked the ball. And again, VAR looks at it, no, fine, no problem, And when it came to the Casemiro one, this was another thing that frustrated me so much with the red card, is if you slow any tackle down, or you just look at freeze frames, i.e. just one snapshot of it when his foot's against his shin, of course it looks like a red card. But it takes any form of context out of the tackle. When you slow something down, or you just show, yeah, his foot's there, you first look at that, you go, of course, that looks terrible. It's a terrible tackle. When you play it at normal speed, when you show that he gets the ball first, you go, actually, you know what? Oof. That's actually, that takes the context out. That's again, it's a nasty tackle, but it's not a red card. For me, again, my opinion, I know I've seen people saying, it's a red card and you give the referee a decision to make. But again, if we're going into games saying that, if you give the referee an opportunity to send you off, he will. What kind of game is that? I don't get that. Now, when asked about the red card once again, Ten Hag said, quote, on Casemiro's red card, what I think is the inconsistency. The players don't know anymore what the policy is. In addition to that, we did see Alejandro Garnacho go off yesterday. Ten Hag said he took Garnacho off as a precaution and doesn't think his injury is too bad. And again, that was the majority of the quotes after the game. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. I know we've got a super chat here from Amanor here. Says, Owen Sancho lacks intensity, so disappointing. Well, yes, Jadon Sancho, we are going to talk about players individually as the show goes on. Sancho did start yesterday in the 10. And I think to be honest, I thought a lot of the team yesterday lacked intensity. That was one of the things I sort of jotted down, even before the red card, was that we did look slow and we did look lethargic. We did have chances, but I saw Flex say it after the game, and it's true. We do look fatigued. And I don't think playing with 10 men for 60 minutes after you've played on Thursday will help that at all. But we look tired. You can see it. The intensity just isn't there as much. And the problem is players are starting to drop off now. You don't have Casemiro for 4 games. Christian Eriksen, he's not going to be back until the end of April. You look at Sabitzer. He wasn't on the bench yesterday. He had a knock on Thursday, so I don't know what that situation is. That means we've got McTominay and Fred once again in midfield. I think Luke Shaw's looked a bit lethargic and tired the last couple of games too. He came back, he had a fitness test against Liverpool, played on Thursday, played yesterday, but he does look tired. You can feel it, you can see it, that some of the players do just look lethargic, honestly. And I do feel with 11 men, we still would have got through that game and won it. But we did lack intensity, no doubt about it. See what else some of you guys are saying. Paul Lucas, one of our members, says that was absolutely handball, which would have been a pen and a red attached to it. That changes the game. Ten Heisenberg says it affects all team. It's a cartel, either gross incompetence or match fixing by these referees. It's too blatant in the Premier League, Owen. Well, this is, look, again, I don't even go as far as when it says, like, you know, match fixing or agendas referees, because I don't think it's that. I really do think it's incompetence. And again, it's not even a United thing. I honestly mean it. When I watch games as a neutral, when I watch opposition teams as a neutral, and I see a bad decision, I'll go, that's a terrible decision. Like I got frustrated in the Champions League the other day with the encroachment thing with Chelsea and Dortmund, because I thought that the first player that went into the box was a Chelsea player, so the Dortmund players follow him in, and Dortmund get punished for it. And again, it was VAR interfering unnecessarily. And we see it all the time. We see it all the time at the moment. Just poor decisions and no consistency and no transparency. And I don't... The way that it's just such a closed shop and you don't hear from them, you can't talk to them, they don't explain their decisions, I just find baffling, you know? Because, you know, when you're playing on the pitch, you know, and the referee makes a decision, and you go up to him and you say, why did you do that? And the best referees, certainly when I was playing, you went up to him and you said, why did you do that? And they would explain their decision, and it's not even necessarily like you agree with it, but at least you can understand their way of thinking, their logic behind it, and you go, well, I disagree, but I appreciate you explaining it to me. But it's just, they don't. They don't in the Premier League. And again, I think it's crazy. Let's get some reaction. First from Flex. He was outside Old Trafford yesterday. Here's what he had to say.
This was the one where we wanted to get the win to fully bounce back. But games like this happen. It was a game where, look, the red card completely changes the game. It really does. I thought we was fairly comfortable before that. Ten Hag, you know, going with the right approach. I thought, I'm not going to criticise that approach. You know, leaving Casemiro as a lone six and having two progressive eights in terms of Jadon Sancho and Bruno, and it was working in the first sort of 5-10 minutes of the game. I thought Bruno had that kind of free role, whilst Jadon Sancho was the straight 10, and it was okay. I was happy with what we were doing. We lacked that little bit of clinical edge in the final third, though, and actually that was the annoying part. We lacked the clinical edge in the final third, and it was actually Southampton who ended up having the best chance of the first half with the Theo Walcott header. And I think when you get to that period of the game, that's quite early, should I say, that's quite early in the game, we have to keep our foot on the throttle, and we're just struggling to do that a little bit. I think fatigue really is kicking in. Obviously, we're in all these competitions, which is where we want to be. We're in a position where we're, you know, comfortably third in the league with a game in hand, and we want to keep pushing. You know, we're not going to win the league, and I don't think we're going to drop out the top four. So we're kind of just making sure we keep getting enough points to tick over. That's what the objective is now, to secure that third position, because I don't think we'll get second or first, of course. But when the red card happens, that's what kills us. I mean, it's one of those where it could go either way. I looked at it and thought it was quite harsh. When I looked at the replay at half time, you can see the other side of it where they do get given. Casemiro wins the ball, but he goes, the follow through is what takes him through to the Southampton player. But to me, it's a yellow card at worst. You know, when you slow it down and you're giving all the angles, you know, it's like they wanted to send him off. And look, those ones, though, I'm not fuming about that. I'm more fuming about the display of Anthony Taylor aside from that, because I thought it's absolutely shocking performance from him today. Absolutely disgusting performance. And we should have had a penalty. You know, the Southampton defender who's basically on the floor and stops the ball with his hand. How that isn't a penalty, I don't know. The Bruno one, probably a bit innocuous, and obviously the Rashford one, I don't think that was a pen. But, you know, there's got to be a penalty before that. That went against us. But essentially, you know, at 10 men, it killed us. It really did. And I think you can tell by Casemiro's reaction, you know, he wasn't exactly remonstrating with the referee. He was more like, that's just one of them ones where I've gone in, the follow-through's gone a little bit high, and I've got to hold it. And
big up Flex, as always. And you know what? It's interesting, because obviously the referees and the VAR performance yesterday is going to overshadow it. But even before the red card, we did have opportunities, and afterwards we had opportunities for a game that ended up 0-0, as you would expect, I suppose, after one team getting a red card after 30-odd minutes. There were a lot of chances in yesterday's game. It was surprising it was surprising to see that it ended up 0-0 because there were chances. There were. I mean, even before the red card, Rashford had a chance. He was in behind. Bruno put the pass. The keeper made the save. You could argue that maybe Rashford should have squared it. I think Weghorst was waiting in the middle, but Rashford, given the form that he's in, given the fact that he's won Player of the Month, he's always going to take the shot, and it's early on in the game. Maybe later on in the game you do square it and you go from there. But at the same time, Southampton had their chances too. Again, even before the red card, they had their chances. David De Gea made a couple of really big, important saves yesterday. Absolutely. The first one, again, was before the red card. Aaron Wan-Bissaka should clear it. Luke Shaw got kind of snuck up on with a ball. Got whipped in. Again, Shaw got snuck up on. It was a header. It's reactions from De Gea. It's one of those ones, I think, as a keeper, that you're fortunate that it comes so quickly at you, and it's great reactions, but you're fortunate because all you can really do when the ball's coming that quick is just put your hand up like that, and that's what he does. And it's a fantastic save. As, you know, looking at it from an attacking point of view from Southampton, they would think, I tell you what, go anywhere else, you probably score there. But it's a brilliant save, and that was the pattern of the game, even before the red card, was a bit flat, a bit sloppy, get caught out a couple of times. But even afterwards, after the red card, we still had opportunities. Rafael Varane had a header, great save by the goalkeeper. Again, you can talk about the penalty decisions or lack thereof. Southampton had their chances too. Aaron Wan-Bissaka cleared the ball off the line. It was clearly going in. James Ward-Prowse from a free kick clipped the bar. David De Gea makes another big save in the second half too. It's a counter-attack. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, he had it came back, his condition, Brook Foot came back, gives the ball away, and Theo Walcott's through on goal. It's a poor finish, I think, from Walcott, but a good save from David De Gea. And Bruno Fernandes then hits the post as well. Keeper makes a fantastic save. Must be said, Southampton goalkeeper made some really big, important saves yesterday. Kyle Walker-Peters hits the post as well for Southampton. So for a game that ended up 0-0, it really could have been a completely different storyline. And there were a scoreline, WWE, scoreline, and there were plenty of chances, but it's difficult to say that the game wasn't affected by the decisions there. In terms of individual players as well, I do want to single out Lisandro Martinez, who I thought, again, absolutely was brilliant yesterday. Again, considering the circumstances, considering all of the all of the pressure that was on him after the red card, and Southampton, of course, they grew far much more into the game after the red, and they had more of the ball because of that, and they had more men, so they was constantly overloaded. I thought Martinez was excellent, and I think he continues to... This is what I don't get with Martinez, is that he can have, like this season, 20 plus proper good games, excellent games, but it's a game like the Liverpool game, they'll be like, see, he's terrible. Well, wait a minute. There's more evidence to say that he's playing superb against big teams as well. He's played excellent and he's marked people out of the game. But yet you're focusing on one negative performance, which was actually a collective team performance. Which, again, but I think that just goes to say a lot about opposition fans. I've seen opposition fans celebrating again that we drew yesterday after going down to 10 men after 30 minutes. I think that says a lot. I've seen Liverpool fans still trying to cling on to that yesterday, going, see, you drew with Southampton. Oh, see, you beat us. And as we said, and this is what is crazy. Liverpool fans, you beat us last weekend, historic defeat and all that kind of stuff. 7 days afterwards, you're somehow you cut it down to 7 points. It's now back to 8 because you lost to bottom of the league away. And again, it always tickles me. Always makes me laugh with the Liverpool fans because and they say that we need to humble ourselves. That's the crazy one for me. Our United fans, you need to humble yourselves. You're getting too arrogant. You need to humble yourselves. And I go, wait a minute. Is this the same group of fans that last season told us they were winning the quadruple and they didn't? And they still talk about it like they did. This was the side that nearly won the quadruple. You didn't. This is the same side saying, same group of fans going, Carabao Cup doesn't matter. Whereas 12 months ago, there was, footage of them celebrating a Carabao Cup victory. This is the same group of fans saying that Klopp was going to build a Premier League dynasty after they won the league. Didn't happen. But we're the ones that need to humble ourselves. We're the ones that are getting too arrogant. They're the ones that just 7 days ago they said, Liverpool are back now, don't you worry about it. Now we're going to kick on. We need to humble ourselves, apparently, guys. I don't get that. Let's get to more reaction, this time from KG inside UVHQ. Here's what KG had to say.
Long game, man. And, you know, it's such an annoying game because you say to yourself, it's a game you could have won. Yeah. It's a game you should have won, and we're let down by Casemiro. That's what we got to call it out and say, Casemiro let us down. Now, I'm in there, well, Hayley said it in the game when we was doing the match review, right? She said, don't give the referee that decision because we're not getting the rub of the creams when it comes to decision. They're being harsh with us, and we put it into the referee's domain, and they're going to do that. Yeah. As soon as they say check-in, we know what time it is. The referee on-pitch decision, because he's making a lot of decisions, and this is where we talk about the inconsistencies, right? You have the moment where he gives a yellow, and he thinks it's okay. Yeah. Check. Yeah, but then after, in the same level, there's no that energy for checking when it's a handball, because referee makes a snapshot decision, which he was wrong then. Because that means if he changes it, he overturned it and said it's a red. That means, I thought I was right in that moment. I was wrong. So then you say, well, where's that energy when handballs happen? When, because Rashford, even I thought Rashford dived in that thing. But then who's checking? Yeah. Because it's like, I just saw that there's the consistency rate for Man United on certain decisions. It's not going our way. Yeah. You know, and I think that's the part that I find frustrating as a Man United fan. But I have to be proud of the boys. Again, we go down 36 minutes. That's a lot of football. Considering the amount of football we played so far, that's a lot of football for these boys to play. We had moments, we didn't take them. Bruno inside of the post. Trying to think if there was
Very close when he was on. He had one big opportunity as well. Varane from a set piece.
But again, so it's a team that we could have beaten. You know what I mean? Over 90 minutes with the right guys on the pitch, right? But we don't do it. It's a setback. Yeah. But we just got to keep on kicking, got to keep on pushing. Yeah. I know people are getting nervous now, thinking about Spurs, talking about top four and this, that, and the other, but we can't really focus on that. That's why we have to always look up the table than looking down. I think when you start worrying about people chasing you, the focus comes wrong. You have to chase up the table, right? And that's all Man United can do. Yes, we're having this is a setback, but it's not devastating. Yeah. It's just tough that no Casemiro.
And Ten Hag always says it as well. He says, take it game by game. Don't be rushing. We're not looking ahead. Yeah. We're taking it game by game. But like even in the second half, 10 men down. He goes to a 4-4-1. You see compact midfield. We're doing very good defensively. McTominay comes on, probably our best player when he comes on the pitch.
Absolutely.
And then we said we need to bring on Garnacho. Yeah. Garnacho gets a little. It seemed like a little injury there.
It was a reducer, and it reduced him. Again, as soon as he get hit, there was nothing he could do.
Big up KG and Paolo holding down the fort there at UVHQ yesterday. What is quite interesting, actually, is, Samuel Lutkos this morning, writing from the Manchester Evening News. And I know what he's trying to do here, and I don't think it's like this kind of deep. But Manchester United contacted the PGMLO, in November over Anthony Taylor putting the ball back 5 yards, as I mentioned, in the Aston Villa game. So some people go, see, he's got an axe to grind. I don't think it's that. Like I said, in my opinion, it's worse than that because it's not like agendas, it's not revenge or anything like that. It's just they're not good. It's just incompetence. That's it. And you know what now? Look, I mean, the title race talk was ridiculous anyway. But I think when you look at now, we're certainly it's the top four race. It's tightening up a little bit. You know, you've got Liverpool, who, as I mentioned, 8 points behind us. Newcastle, they're 6 points behind us. We've got a game in hand over them, so it could go to 3. Spurs, they're 2 points behind us. We've got a game in hand over them, so it could go to 5. But look, we have to be cautious, I suppose, about what's over our shoulder still. In that, and we have to again take a step back and look at things in context still. At the beginning of the season, what did we say? I mean, at the beginning of the season, some of us were saying we ain't going to get top 4. No chance we're getting top 4. That's not going to happen. If we get to the end of the season and we're in the Champions League, and even if we don't win another trophy, but we got in the top 4 and we won a trophy, we'd have taken that at the start of the season. Now, I understand that seasons evolve and things change and opportunities come up. So, you know, you could argue that we might be, and maybe we should win another trophy. I don't know. But what we have to focus on now, between now and the end of the season, in terms of domestically, secure that top 4. There's a lot going on in the background of Manchester United at the moment. There's a lot of noise. And get to the end of the season. Let's see what the ownership situation is saying, hoping that we have new owners, whoever they may be, because the most important thing is that it's not the Glazers. Get to the end of the season, have new owners, be in the Champions League, win a trophy. So you've already got that winning mentality starting to set up, and then you've set up in a really good position for next season. You can have a good summer. Again, what that summer spending is going to look like, I don't know. From an FFP point of view, we can have all the money, but we might be in a situation where we can't spend maybe as much as we would want to. But we certainly are in the position to attract those sort of players that we're looking for, where we're saying they could make a massive difference or they could really improve us, and we can bridge that gap. We can get closer to your Manchester Cities and your Arsenals, and you would think maybe like your Liverpools, who might be back next season, or who knows what Chelsea are going to look like next season. But the point being is we can bridge that gap and we can close that gap. And to be honest, that gap at the moment isn't massive. It's it's big enough that we're not really in a title race, but it's not huge. A couple of players, anything's possible. More time with this management team, more time with this manager, anything's possible for next season. Again, when you're in the Champions League, anything's possible. So that's what I think we've got to be looking at this season. And results like yesterday, I guess, are going to happen. And almost a weird positive way of looking at it is saying, well, if it wasn't for the red card, I think we'd have probably won that game, and we didn't lose. In days gone past, we might have lost that game because we're so fragile and we're collapsed. I mean, 7 days after losing 7-0 at Anfield, the last thing you want to do is go down to 10 men after 30 minutes at home because you're thinking, here the collapse is going to come again. And it didn't. And the collapse didn't come yesterday. And again, I think that's a good test of the mentality too. So there are positives, that you can take out of it. Maybe not the best positives that you would want to take out of it, but there are positives. As I've said before, our future, our destiny is still well and truly in our own hands when it comes to the top four. And that was the objective coming into this season. So again, I think we are still in a good space. The next games, you can see them scrolling at the bottom of the screen. They're going to be important. FA Cup, we still want to progress in that, get to Wembley for a semi-final, and then possibly Wembley again for a final. Obviously, the nearest game is Thursday against Real Betis. It's going to be really interesting to see what Ten Hag does do with that game, because we're near enough through to the next round, near enough through to the quarterfinals. We've got a 3-goal lead. You would think that's unassailable, but you never know. You never know what can happen, especially with United recently. So maybe he does find the time to rotate on Thursday for the FA Cup at the weekend. But we've also got Newcastle coming up soon in the Premier League, and that's going to be big. But you've got the international break as well. So look, it's still going to be very, very interesting, no doubt about that. Let's get some more reaction now. Flex spoke to Levin outside Old Trafford yesterday. Big up Levin coming through. Levin 2K. Here's what he had to say.
Ones where you want to make sure you don't lose it. Yeah. But had a couple of chances to win. But the red card was the big talking point in that.
Yeah, it's one of those ones, where I feel like there's a lot I could say in terms of like negatives and things that could have been better and should have been better. But at the same time, you also look at it where before the red card, I don't think we were too bad. We could have been a bit more clinical. First things first, ref, Anthony Taylor. I don't know, man. I feel like I don't want to ever be the guy that's like, everyone's against us, the refs are against us. But at a certain point, you do start to go, nothing's going our way here. Do you know what I'm saying? And as players, if nothing's going your way, you have to react a certain way. And I feel like, again, there's times where things aren't going our way and people are almost not giving up. That's not the word, because people aren't giving up, but you see the attitude change where, like, everyone's a bit more like, do you know what I mean? Again, where it's like, you just got to keep going. If things aren't going your way, things aren't going your way. I thought we were decent before the red card. I thought the red card was a bit iffy because, he does connect with him, but he only connects with him because he gets the ball. Like his foot hits the ball and it rolls over and hits his leg. But
it's one of them ones where that literally is a 50-50. Like the ref obviously on the on-field, he done a, hi, you right, mate? He gave the yellow card, and it's like, you could stick with that. That's fair. But then when you slow it, when you slow it down in the freeze frame, and you see that the follow through takes his leg a little bit higher or his foot a little bit higher, you just know the writing's on the wall. But just in general, Anthony Taylor, he was really poor. Not to just put it on the referees, because obviously we all talk about the game, but in particular, Anthony Taylor was poor.
Yeah, I thought, like everyone around me, you know what I mean? When everyone around you just like, again, do you know what I mean? Again. It gets to a point where like I can't even react no more. And a couple of brothers looking at me where they're like, bro, again, I'm just looking at them like, bro, what can we do at this point? But besides the ref, I did feel like we could have been better. All around the pitch, I felt like there were certain players who we know we need a bit more technical security. There's a difference between being technically excellent and being technically secure. We have a lot of players who, when you give them the ball, they can do very great things. But a lot of those same players consistently will have moments where they are just too sloppy. Luke Shaw's someone who this season I felt like we could rely on in that regard.
He's just slipped off, didn't it?
Do you know what I mean? At times during this game, there were a couple moments where in transition you're thinking, make that ball, you've done it all season long, doesn't happen. Bruno, he's just like that. We know he's like that at times. For me, Rashford today, right? I feel like today was an example of where Rashford, as good as he's been, in those moments where he's isolated one-on-one, because we set him up for that a lot, he's amazing at creating his own shots. We've seen that this season. He scores crazy goals, right? But when he is not in a position to actually create a shot for himself and he has to maybe do it for someone else, provide for someone else, it's not the same.
Big up Levin, big up Flex as well. I did see someone in the comments that it was Mehdi says, "Oh, I wish you had Marcel interviewing Levin. Check out the player ratings." Yes, the player rating yesterday. I was going to say I don't know who framed it. I know who framed it. It was Josh, and Josh, like me, is got the most childish sense of humor ever. So it's Flex in the middle, it's Marcel on Flex's right, and it's Levin on Flex's left, and it's like it's like a graph. It goes up like that. The height is tremendous, and I could just tell Josh was like, maybe I have to move the camera back a little bit, but it was awesome. So yes, big up to Levin, big up to Flex, and we're gonna get to Marcel and some more reaction in just a second as well. It's awesome. It's a good video as well, so be sure to check that out. Steffi Jenks, one of our mods and long time members, says someone it's like the Wi-Fi icon set. It is. It really is. It's awesome. Big up Levin too. So yes, yeah. Again, it's a difficult one to provide analysis of yesterday because, as I said, there's you can go in on individual players and say that they weren't good enough, they were better. As I mentioned, Jadon Sancho started. I felt he was a bit flat again, but then I thought a lot of players were flat, but. You know, he started off in the 10 because Erik ten Hag, he put out a bit of a surprising starting 11 yesterday, really, didn't he? I mean, because when you saw the midfield was Casemiro and Bruno, you went, oh, that's interesting. Bruno's, kind of playing as a sort of a deeper 8. Casemiro's playing as sort of a lone 6. And in fact, it was such an attacking lineup, really. You had, Weghorst, you had Sancho in the 10, you had Rashford on the left, Antony on the right. You thought, man, he's going for it. And even before the red card, it was a bit... Again, maybe just lethargic. Maybe that's the right word, lethargic. There was just this element of lethargy about everyone. Sancho doesn't make as much sense. I know that he's... I know that Sancho's, I think he's had illness recently, but he still just looked a bit off the pace. He looked more on the pace when he just came back from his absence a few weeks ago, and now he looked a bit off it again. Again, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the answer is to that. Be sure to smash a like on the like button as well, guys. We've got nearly 850 people watching. Let's see if we can get to 150 likes, 200 likes, and be sure to subscribe as well. Bottom right-hand corner, big day coming up today as well. Of course, we've got today's Match Day Reloaded. We've got the Tactical View coming out around midday too, and of course, Full View 6 p.m. as well. It's going to be coming out full panel as always. Let's get some more reaction this time, going from the height of Levin to the height of Marcel. Here's what Marcel had to say.
First 10 minutes was kind of, here and there, a bit sketchy. We couldn't really get into the game. I think that first half was really poor, similar to Crystal Palace away. Just couldn't get the tempo in the passing. A lot of, slow, lethargic passes. And then Casemiro kind of kills the game for us, unfortunately. It makes it a mountain to climb once you kind of pick up that red card. But credit to the back line. I think throughout the whole game, the first half, the back line's been really good. It's a clean sheet at the end of the day. Martinez was fantastic. Good combinations between him and the midfield at all times. Good passes down the lines, getting through that midfield line, slipping the ball through the opposition shape. But that first half really had just the Bruno to Rashford opportunity. Rashford should have maybe passed it across the Weghorst. Yeah. A little key opportunity there for him. De Gea save, point blank header. There wasn't that much in the game. I mean, we had a few kind of good, the fullbacks got in a lot. Luke Shaw got in, good little combination play. Wan-Bissaka on the other side got in, but the final end product, the crosses weren't brilliant. And then we were just scraping at 6s and 7s in that first half. It was difficult to kind of make anything from it.
What about the second half? Okay, you are down to 10 men. It's 0-0. What did you make of tactically how we was after that? Whether it's mentally, tactically, Ten Hag's input, etc., in the second half to maybe get a win?
Well, he tries to change things, doesn't he? You know, he puts on the two new wingers. By the way, those wingers today were shocking. I mean, you know, Anthony wasn't effective, and then Sancho today, I know he's playing in the 10, was just really, really abysmal. Wasn't really around at all. And Rashi, the high standards that we normally hold him to, Flex, he wasn't there. You know,
Wasn't himself today.
Wasn't himself today. Hard to get into the game. You know, I can't believe that. You know, it's the 10 men. I think that's what it is. And funny enough, we're talking about David De Gea's distribution. If you have a goalkeeper that can maybe play 5 yards higher up the pitch and distribute, then maybe you don't suffer as much with the 10 men. And you've got somebody that can cover those spaces. Everybody moves up the pitch higher and we're a bit closer to their goal. But, you know, tactically, he had to change the wingers. Palestri had to come on. Firstly, Garnacho. You know, hopefully speedy recovery for him.
Yeah.
Look kind of serious from my.
Surprised he got up and carried on. I thought, you know, I think I even saw Varane give the substitution sign, and to see him get up and then be sprinting around a bit, and then obviously essentially had to come off, but walk down the tunnel. Yeah, like you said, hopefully it's not a bad one, because it looked like a bad one first.
Yeah, come on, Flex, because he seemed like he was the one that was coming on to make the difference for us. You know, when you're talking about tactically how Ten Hag changes it, it's the two wingers that come on. He tries to, you know, bring extra pace. No, Sancho weren't bringing us any pace when he had to go out wide there. Rashford was kind of dribbling into blind alleys a little bit, didn't seem to get off plenty of shots. Was expecting a comfortable game where he would get a lot of shots, a lot of joy. Didn't really have much. And then obviously the second half, Bruno hits the post. It was tactically, what could Ten Hag really have done? He doesn't really have much options off the bench. You know, the squad's kind of thin. It was hard for him to really.
Big up Marcel, big up Flex outside Old Trafford. I was just looking at United's recent form in the league, actually, and it's a bit, I mean, it just reflects, again, what we're kind of seeing a little bit recently, where it's 2 wins, 2 draws, a loss. Just a bit, just stuttering a little bit, isn't it? It's like we got through those big games. We got through some of those big games against, you know, your Cities and your Barcelonas and the Carabao Cup final. And not to say that there's a hangover from it, but it's just like, you know, because we're playing in so many games and because people are talking about tiredness and fatigue, it's almost like the adrenaline of those big games we got through, and then we just have sort of stuttered a little bit. And the only thing we can do is kind of like the same what we were talking about after that Liverpool result. The only thing we can do is just keep trying to pick up points, keep going through into the games and try and win. And I know that sounds really basic and great analysis though, and try and win a football match, but it's true. You know, yesterday again, I feel like we would have won that game had not, you know, the chaos surrounded it, and we would have been like, we didn't play our best, but we got through it. So the only thing we can do this week is beat better, get through to the next round of the Europa League, build up some confidence, build up some momentum that way. And then, again, when it comes to the next match, Fulham in the FA Cup, keep trying to do that. Just Kevin says, my Cologne analysis, they've just got to win the next game. They've just got to win football matches. That's what they've got to do. If you score more goals than your opposition, you win. If both teams don't score, it's a draw. Yes, my namesake. You know, he's got my first name is his last name. Yeah, that's the analysis I'm providing this morning. Forget it. You want to get some real proper in-depth analysis? Let's go to our tactical professor. It's Statman Cam. Here's what Cam had to say.
Yeah, it was weird, but I've got no respect for Southampton. You're supposedly fighting for your lives. You come here, you play against 10 men for 60 minutes, and by the end of your time wasting, taking every possible moment to go down with your injuries. It's embarrassing. Relegated.
Yeah, but you're fighting relegation though, Cam.
Yeah, you're fighting relegation. You need 3 points. It's pathetic.
Oh, you're away at Man United. We've been absolutely colossal. You know what can happen against us. In defence, look, I get the frustration, but if you're Southampton, you're down rock bottom of the league. You've changed your manager. You're coming to absolute fortress. I know they were a bit negative, but
even irrespective of anything else. We want to be coming here to watch some football. At least if you're going to offer something, do something different to every other team. Don't just. It's such a mediocre style of play. They don't really do anything special. They offer nothing.
At least that's why they're bottom of the league. That's why they're bottom of the league, because they offer nothing. But they've got a point.
There's plenty of other clubs that actually offer something nice in the way they play football. These guys, there's nothing there. Nothing there. Terrible team, awful style of play. All they've got is free kicks from Ward-Prowse. There's nothing else there.
It's pathetic. Scored from.
To be fair, he's a good free kick taker. Can't do much else, but a good free kick taker. But like, it's a waste of a Premier League spot. Anyway, enough of that.
Looking at ourselves.
Enough of that.
It's like talking to Ty.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, it's the first game we've had in daylight for so long.
Exactly.
You never know. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But
on ourselves, though.
On ourselves, yeah. I think we started the game quite well. I think it was interesting to see that in terms of combating their high press, we had quite deep fullbacks at the start. You saw quite a lot of trying to make it a little bit easier for De Gea. I think with Wan-Bissaka playing really deep when we're playing out from the back, so there's pretty much always that ball on to Wan-Bissaka. Maybe the centre-backs are a little bit higher, Wan-Bissaka's even deeper, so it gives De Gea that little bit more comfort that he can just find the fullback and helps us play out from the back a little bit better. I think up until the red card, there's no other way of saying it, that's the moment the game changed. Anthony Taylor was against us all game. And he is every time he comes here. It's embarrassing. It's pathetic. I can see why it's a red card, but there's no excuse for the handball. Yes, it was the other end of the ground to me, but it looked a penalty. I can't see how that wasn't. And every other 50-50, it's gone their way. It's what he does every time. I don't know how he's still refereeing games. Apparently, according to UEFA, he's our best referee because he's the only one that gets picked for Champions League, for World Cups, all that sort of stuff. So I don't know what's going on there.
It's almost like Mike Dean's left the scene and he thought, right, I'll step in.
Yeah, same bald head, same shit performance. It is what it is. But yeah, on to how we played after the red card then. And I think it was just frustrating because I want to see a United team, especially here. Look, there's no point risking I don't want to point.
Yeah.
Go and try and win the game. If we end up losing 1-0, no one's going to remember at the end of the season anyway. Go for the 3 points.
You think you'd rather have lost trying to fight that than take this point?
I think we could have been more aggressive. I think when you go,
I do agree with that bit, yeah.
When you go down to 10 men, I think what we needed to see earlier on is players.
Big up, Cam. I said going into that one that we were going to get some proper sort of tactical analysis. Didn't really get that at parts of it. I forgot that bit at the start where he was sort of saying relegate Southampton. Look, they're struggling at the bottom of the league. If they have an opportunity to pick up a point at Old Trafford, they're doing it. I mean, 100%. Now, they could argue that maybe they might be a bit frustrated because they could have maybe won the game. But to say that, they're terrible, they've got no style of play, man. Someone that had no style of play, they nearly scored a couple of goals against us yesterday. And I think they'll be very happy with that point, considering going into it, they didn't think they were going to get one. So I disagree when it comes to that. I also disagree when he says that if we'd have lost that game 1-0, no one would have cared or remembered it. People would have cared. When you've lost 7-0 against Liverpool in the Premier League, and the next weekend if you lose, irrespective of the circumstances against Southampton, people would have cared. 100%. And I think it's a testament to United that we played 60 plus minutes of football with 10 men. And as I mentioned, after going down 7-0 the weekend prior, didn't collapse and managed to get something out of the game, and looking at it saying we still could have maybe and should have got more out of it. I think that is a positive. But I do agree with what he was saying, that we lacked aggression. But I think that was before and after the red card too. I thought we just lacked aggression just in the majority of the game. Again, we looked fatigued. I think we just looked tired yesterday. And I think that was really reflective from the performance that we saw. Let's get some more reaction. This time from Hayley inside UVHQ. She spoke to Paolo. Here's what Hayley had to say. One of my favourite fan views every single week.
Well, I feel like we started okay. Mm-hmm. And had we finished our chances and not been a bit sloppy with the ball, that situation with Casemiro would never have happened. Yeah. It would never have happened because he wouldn't have had the chance to be sliding in. There would have been no need for him to be sliding in because we would have gained control of the game. Yeah. But because we didn't gain control of the game, it meant Casemiro had to slide in. It's unfortunate, and I just want to say the refereeing in that game was just shocking.
Shambles.
It was shambles because you can argue it wasn't even a red card. Because when you slow it down and you go to VAR and then you freeze frame it, on his leg, his foot touching the man's leg, of course it's going to look bad. But why don't you show the ref in reality of how it's actually happening? His foot rolled over the ball and then touched him. It wasn't a reckless challenge. And I feel like they need to take that in account when they're going over there to VAR. And now it's unfortunate we're going to miss him for 4 games. Literally, he's come back from a suspension in the Premier League, got battered against Liverpool, and then now he's got suspended again. So that's 2 red cards in his last 3 Premier League games. It's not great, but we're going to have to use the squad, and we're going to have to get through it.
Yeah, and I mean, you're talking about the refereeing decisions there.
It's just abysmal.
I mean, we could have had a handball.
Yeah.
Rashford there was a connection there from the opposition goalkeeper, which he hits him with his knee. I mean, what are the standards nowadays? Because, do you know what I mean?
What? There is no standards. Yeah. There literally is no standards in the refereeing. I mean, you talk about the Champions League, the referees in there are at least much better than what we're dealing with now. The refs are, first of all, they're against us. And not only that, when they are officiating against us, they're doing poor jobs. That was a blatant handball.
Yeah.
My man's on the floor and he's literally like he's hugging the ball.
Yeah.
How do you not give that as a red? As a penalty? That's one. And then the second one, Rashford's in the box.
They don't even look.
Why are you not even looking? The guy, when they've slowed it down and they showed us it again, the guy has actually clipped Rashford's foot. How is that not? That is two. And none of them did they go to the screen and look. Yeah. But yet, when it's red cards, that's serious.
Yeah.
That's serious.
Yeah.
You want to go to the screen. Penalties are serious too. It affects games and it's affected our game.
Big up Hayley, big up Paolo as always. And now I guess looking forwards, we look forward to Real Betis on Thursday. As I mentioned, got to be professional, get that job done, move to the next round of the Europa League. Then we move our focus to the FA Cup against Fulham, and then after that, again, we've got, I think, is it Newcastle next in the Premier League? Let me check. I mean, the fixtures are going up on the bottom of the screen, but the ticker moves a little bit slowly. So we got Betis, and we got Newcastle's the next game, but that's after the international break, isn't it? So here's hoping after the international break, look, that we get some players back. I.e., Sabitz is available. Casemiro, of course, will not be available for that one. He'll still be suspended. Christian Eriksen, I think it'll be too soon for him to be back. And that's a big game. Newcastle away, that is a big game because Newcastle have closed the gap a little bit now, and that top four race is becoming a little bit tighter. If we can get a result away from home at Newcastle, not that will confirm top four, but that will make it a lot more comfortable. And it still is fairly comfortable. We're checking the shoulder a little bit at the moment, aren't we? Going, well, it's getting a little bit closer than we would like. And also, we're still looking for that big first away Premier League victory against a top four rival, aren't we? We haven't done that this season. I mean, look, I think the stat is that we haven't won away against, was it the top 11 sides in the Premier League, something like that. So to do it against Newcastle is a big ask, considering that their home form's very, very good this season, and they do tend to get results at home, and they play very well at home. But if we can do that, go to St James's Park, get a positive result, not only does that stop the discussion of, well, I'll tell you what, away from home, Man United in the Premier League, I'm not really sure about that. But two, it will give us more. It will give us more of a gap, get that gap back when it comes to the top four. Again, immediate future, we're talking about cup competitions, we're talking about Betis in Spain, we're talking about Fulham at home. One would think, again, Fulham at home, I know they played Arsenal yesterday at home and they got pretty soundly defeated. It's still going to be a difficult game, but a home draw in an FA Cup quarter-final is a positive draw for us, and we got to make it count. Look, as I've always said, when it comes to cup competitions, it's not about playing the big teams. When people say, well, you're going to have to beat the big teams eventually. No, you're not. You have to play, Michael Owen analysis, you have to play who you get drawn against. You don't have to play the big teams. We've been pretty fortunate with our draws in cup competitions this season. So, again, we've got to make sure that we take advantage of that, and we can maybe win another trophy this season. And if we got into the top four and we won the FA Cup and Carabao Cup, this great season that Liverpool had last season, right? We could do pretty much the same thing. The important thing is now is, the midfield looks very light. We're looking at McTominay and Fred again. Sabitzer, even if he could play Thursday, I'm not sure I'd want him to, coming back off an injury. We need him more for the FA Cup game, you would say, at the weekend. And then, it's about making sure that he stays fit throughout the international break too. So certainly a big couple of games, and we're getting into nearly the business end of the season, right? I mean, it's April, May, and that's about it. So we're getting into sort of the business end of the season, certainly for Manchester United, and there's still a lot certainly we can achieve. So still exciting times for Manchester United, despite yesterday's result. But there you go, guys. That's Match Day Reloaded for you today. As I mentioned, we've got a jam-packed day here at United View. We've got the tactical view coming out around midday. Cam's going to be breaking down the tactics of what happened, what went right, what went wrong at Old Trafford yesterday in the 0-0 draw against Southampton. 6 p.m, as always, there will be the full view, with the full panel. We'll be discussing the latest Manchester United news and topics. And then, of course, throughout the week, we've got plenty of other stuff. Morning views, Flex and KG show. We've We've also got the Europa League tie out in Spain. So you've got match view, fan views, reactions, all that kind of stuff. And then we're building to the FA Cup next weekend as well. And obviously all of the clips that we've shown this morning, you can check those out on the channel. You can also join the UV Members Club too. Links in the video description. It's also the pin comment in the live chat. You get your badges, your emojis, and your exclusive members only content. There are 10 episodes of UV Raw that are currently out right now, and more episodes coming soon. In addition to that, you get other exclusive content. You also get your badges, your emojis, your members priority chat. You get plenty in the Members Club. Anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Have a great Monday morning, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.